call the meeting of the Wayne County Commission to order. You all didn't see me gavel, so I'll do it again. I'd like to call the meeting of the Wayne County Commission to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Basham.
Here.
Commissioner Baydoun.
Here.
Commissioner Clark Coleman. Here. Commissioner Dahl.
Here.
Commissioner Hattis.
Present.
Commissioner Killeen.
Here.
Commissioner Knizik.
Here.
Commissioner Marecki.
Here.
Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Present.
Commissioner Varga. Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
Present.
Vice Chair Palomera.
Here.
Chair Bell.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And if everyone who is not a commissioner could please mute their phones. If everyone could please self-mute your phone. Thank you so much. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Invocation.
Okay, today Commissioner Dobb is going to introduce our invocator for this morning. Commissioner Dobb, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. It is my honor to introduce Anne-Marie Graham-Hudak for our invocation this morning. Anne-Marie is a Canton Township trustee and planning commissioner. She's a past officer and director with the League of Women Voters and is a founding member and chair of the Plymouth Canton Citizens for Diversity and Inclusion. Professionally, Anne-Marie is an engineer with Ford Motor Company and currently works in sustainability. I asked her to lead our invocation this morning because she is an active member of the Plymouth Canton Interfaith Community Outreach Group. The Plymouth Canton Interfaith Community Outreach Group was formed a few months after September 11th. Dr. Mahmoud Hai of the Muslim community of Western Suburbs and Father Prophetto of the Resurrection Catholic Church began working together to establish a peaceful, diverse community. The group began with interfaith dinners, clothing drives, and hunger walks. At the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, the group renewed itself with more members and community activities consisting of health fairs, interfaith dinners, interfaith discussions and prayers, and building strong friendships between the faith communities. The group also participates in educating Michigan middle school children and their parents about the various faiths through an immersion program throughout southeastern Michigan. The Plymouth Canton Interfaith Community Outreach Group has also taught cultural competence to members of police and fire departments, teachers and school district staff, and the general public. The group spent a year sewing an interfaith quilt, which permanently resides in the Canton Public Library. The group's faith has been instrumental in providing community support during the COVID-19 crisis through making masks, care packages, wellness calls, food deliveries, and just being there when anyone called. The Plymouth Canton Interfaith Community Outreach Group is about forming strong communities and most of all, friendships. And now I will turn it over to Anne-Marie Graham-Hudak for this morning's invocation. I ask everyone to please mute their lines for the prayer. Thank you, Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Commissioner Melissa. Thank you for this honor. Thank you for the honor to be before everybody today. So I'd like to begin with the commitment of resiliency that ICO signed up with many faith communities throughout southeastern Michigan, started by the Detroit Interfaith Council a few years ago. We believe that we are called to lift each other up, that we are stronger standing together, that our differences are a blessing, that empathy and love reveal the path to peace, and that justice will prevail. Because each of us is beloved, therefore, we commit to answer intolerance with goodwill, live by faith and hope, not fear, seek understanding and friendship whenever we can, stand with those facing prejudice and injustice, meet resistance with resiliency as we build the beloved community each day. Dear God, please help these leaders that stand before you build bridges, and join together to help our struggling communities be all they can be for every resident within this county and beyond. Let them open themselves to see the humanity in each other and all that they do for the people they serve. And let them join in peace and humility as they walk together to serve in these difficult times. Peace be with all of you. Amen.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you so
so-
much, Anne Marie.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Dobb. Thank you, Anne Marie, for joining us today. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. We appreciate you. Next item, please.
Reading, correcting, and approval of the journal.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware,
Move approval.
Support.
moved and supported. And that was
Support.
Commissioner Anderson, I believe, that supported it first.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on the correction of the approval of the journal? Hearing none, we'll do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Next item.
Report from the chair.
Thank you so much. Today, I'm going to allow Ms. Janelle Allen, the COO, to speak to us during these remark times. She has some information, some good information on the county's efforts to increase testing in Wayne County. Janelle Allen, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning to all. It's my pleasure to share with you what we have been doing on the testing side. As everyone knows, I'm pretty sure that testing is going to be a significant component of flattening the spread and reopening our businesses. Unfortunately, since the virus hit the county and the state, we've had very limited testing availability and
Janelle?
capacity. Yes.
Janelle, I don't know about other people, but you're breaking up. I don't know. If you can maybe walk to another room. You're
Okay,
breaking
actually, I was
up.
talking
We
to my
want to
computer.
make sure we get this information.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Is that better? Is that better?
It's fine for me. Yes, I can hear you well. I can hear you good.
Okay. I'm actually talking through my computer, not on a phone.
Okay.
Okay.
It could
Is
be
that
just
better?
me. Go ahead, Janelle.
Okay. Sorry. So as I was saying, in
You're
the
fine. Go ahead.
beginning, testing has been very limited availability. But fortunately, early on, Wayne County Executive Evans was able to collaborate with the state and at least have availability offered to our first responders, and that meaning our sheriff's deputies and our JDF staff. So we were able to actually have our sheriff's deputies started being tested in early April. However, though, it was just limited to those who were symptomatic or those who needed to return to work clearance. Over time, we were able to at least get that expanded to all deputies who were working, because clearly we want to make sure that those who were working were not asymptomatic and then coming to work spreading the virus. So that has been able to help with regard to staffing over in the jails and with our JDF staff. Around 2-3 weeks ago, testing then was opened up to a wider group. Those were to employees of essential businesses, including Wayne County government. So then we were able to at least send our employees who are currently working, those who are deemed essential, but they had to be working in person as opposed to working remotely to be able to get tested. Unfortunately, though, the requirement to have symptoms got relaxed. We're able to start sending our employees who are working in person over to the state fairgrounds. We also have been able to now even start testing our youth. We were able last week, for the first time, the county received its own supply of test kits we received from the state. We were able to test all of the youth at the JDF. In the meantime, though, we were testing any youth juvenile who came into JDF who was at least 16 years old. We were able to take them over to the state fairgrounds. So again, last Friday, we were able to do the entire facility, and I'm very happy to report that they were all negative. So all of the youth. And then going forward, all youth incoming are getting tested upon admission to JDF. So if anyone is carrying the virus coming in, they're going to be immediately quarantined or isolated. So again, to keep at least the facility sterile, again, great that our youth are not carrying the virus. This week, we actually have been working with the state who's coming in starting today into Wayne County and focusing on the long-term care facilities. And this is being accomplished through either we're providing test kits and the nursing homes are going to use their own staff, or those nursing homes that said they needed assistance with administering the nasal swabs, the state has sent in a National Guard team, actually several groups that are going to be going into some facilities actually taking the nasal swabs. But test kits are being made available to all of the long-term care facilities in Wayne County starting today. For those facilities who have said that they would like to have test kits provided, but they will use their own staff, we are going to continue meeting at the Public Health Division to monitor and to ensure that those tests are completed. And we're all clearly going to be monitoring with regard to any positive cases to make sure that they are properly isolated and cared for, and that the long-term care facilities are still maintaining proper protocols, wearing proper PPE, again, to ensure that the virus is contained to a minimum within our long-term care facilities. So we're very happy about being able to really now make, we believe, a significant impact with our long-term care facilities. Now, moving forward, we want to be able to test all employees, regardless if they are working in person or remotely. So we are proceeding with procuring our own equipment now. The testing that has been available primarily has been what we call the diagnostic testing. That is also known as the PCR. That test as to whether or not someone is carrying the virus at that time. Unfortunately, some of those tests, including the rapid test where you get your results almost immediately, they only pick up the virus if you're currently symptomatic. So we are actually, the testing equipment we are looking at for diagnostic is actually, it is a rapid form, but it will be able to pick up the virus sooner. In addition to just having our diagnostic testing, though, we're also going to be procuring the antibody testing, which I'm sure a lot of people have been hearing about. The antibody test actually picks up as to whether or not you've been exposed and have you built up antibodies to the virus. That will be very helpful, as you know, because there are probably a lot of people now who will test negative, but then they actually have been exposed. So that'll help us too, as far as with community control in our jails. That helps. How do you know if someone has been exposed? Now, again, we all have, I'm sure, been reading and hearing that there hasn't been science to come out to definitely say that once you've been exposed, you will have lifetime immunity, or how long that immunity will last. But at least the science that we know today says that if you do have some level of antibodies, that your body probably will fight off or have some resistance to the virus, at least for some point in time. Again, that also lets us know how many of the population has been exposed and those who have not been exposed. So we're very happy that in our program, we will have both testing available. And when we acquire our equipment, it will be open to all employees, as I said, not just those who are working in person, because even as the county reopens, we are still expecting that a number of employees will be encouraged, if not required, to continue working remotely, because we still think that we have to be very mindful, we have to be very diligent, if not vigilant, about still keeping up with our proper protocols, about the safety protocols, about washing our hands consistently, wearing face masks. So we think that it's going to help if we still have a phased approach to how many people are returning to the county in our offices and whatnot. But again, the testing will be available for those working remotely as well, and they will be able to get the diagnostic testing and the antibody testing. This testing will also ultimately be available to the public as a whole. And through our arrangement, what we're doing is we're going to partner with local hospitals. And our first opportunity was with Garden City Hospital. So the county will be buying 2 test machines, one for diagnostic, one for antibody. The machines will be delivered to Garden City Hospital, who will be responsible for maintaining and operating them. They are the ones where their medical team will take the nasal swabs for antibody tests. You actually have to have a blood draw. They will have the medical team, as we know, who are credentialed and qualified to do that. So the county does not have to hire that type of staff that we currently don't have available. We have obviously some public health nurses who can take nasal swabs and that, but they are designated to the clinic. the public health clinic. So we thought this was a very efficient and effective way to partner with the hospitals who already have the staff. They know how to maintain, how to use the machines. So they will again maintain and operate, so staff and the public will go over to Garden City Hospital to have their blood draws or nasal swabs. The hospital then will run the test. In partnership with that, though, we needed a way where we can schedule appointments, in particular for our employees. The public will be able to schedule through an app, will be very easy. That's how they'll get an appointment, that's how they'll get information, that's how they'll get the results. For our employees, though, we're concerned that the testing will be available all weekday, but we're concerned that we don't want all employees going over in droves and then having a negative impact on day-to-day operations. So we're having a scheduling system designed where managers will be able to go in and schedule their staff to maintain, though, how many are going at a particular time. And that will be available throughout the work week. So another contract that we have is with the company called Coherent, who is actually designing this scheduling app just for the county to use for scheduling during work hours. But again, for the public, they'll be able to schedule this individually, very easily through an app, and that's where they will get their test results. Through the scheduling program that's being designed for us, then we will also be able to get the test results. Now, because of HIPAA, those results will go to the public health division, who will then be communicating, one with regard to the contact tracing, as well as notifying our departments or elected offices if anyone came back positive, and then giving advice on what to do with that person or that employee. So in all, we will have 4 contracts, 2 with the companies where we're buying our 2 machines, the antibody machine and the diagnostic machine. We'll have a contract with Garden City Hospital, and then a contract with the company that is designing our scheduling. We are envisioning having more of these arrangements with other local hospitals. Garden City just seemed ideal. They're in a location where we believe that there's a tremendous need for access, not that there aren't other areas where we're going to go, and they were ready, willing, and able to step right in. So while we are waiting on our machines, we're told the machine delivery may take from 4 to 6 weeks. Garden City already has access to labs who can run tests. They're going to be able to actually start testing for us, though, within the next 2 weeks. So it's not like we have to wait another month to actually be able to start testing more of our employees. So I know I provided a lot of information there, but that kind of sums it up, that where we've been and where we're going. And so I would say that in about within the next 2 weeks, we should have far more capacity to test employees. And then within the next month or 2, that will be able to open that up to the public. And at some point, we really will get to a point where it is very unlimited availability. And that's what our goal is, so that all employees and the public, that they will have free access and available access to be tested. Also, one point to make, that with regard to the cost of the testing, employees will be asked to show their insurance card, as well as the public. If they do not have insurance, they will not be turned away. Our agreement with Garden City is crystal clear that no one will be turned away. And even if you have insurance, you will not be requested for any additional compensation. No one will have to pay a deductible nor a copay, so no out-of-pocket expenses to any individual to get the testing.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. I know that was a high-level report, but a lot of good information. I want to make sure that the commissioners were aware of this. This procurement of these machines and the contract with Garden City Hospital falls under emergency procurement. So these items are not coming to the commission for approval, but I want to make sure everyone was aware of what the efforts are. I have 2 questions from hands being raised. I see Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware and then Commissioner Basham.
Thank you. Could you tell me the number of youth was tested?
Yes, we have had a total of, I believe, 53. Now, Commissioner Ware, that was as of last Monday. I'll get an updated number for you, but that was the total number of youth in the facility at the time.
Had the staff in the facility been tested?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Basham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been following this very closely, and I'm not a doctor or any of those. I'm qualifying that up front, but there are a number of tests that can give you a answer, and you touched on it a little bit, a result within 1 to 5 minutes. Some of them can give you a test within 30 minutes, some 45 minutes, some of them it takes you a day. And there's so many and one of those tests is up to 25% false positives. And my comment or question is, why would we even use those kinds of tests? Why won't we use a more reliable test, even if it takes longer, to give back the proper results? That's my first one. And the second one, and I'd mentioned this once before, haven't heard anything about it. Why don't the county also have thermometers so that when we're going back to work that we can actually just check people's temperatures as they come in past the sign-in desk for visitors and things like that? So at least a few thermometers, like one at DPW, one at a couple at with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, so that they can test employees and visitors to make sure the tests are safe. I mean, their temperatures are safe.
Mr. Basham, I'll start with the second question first. We actually have provided thermometers. I know that over at the jails, they actually do the physical testing, meaning they actually take the temperature of every individual coming into the jails every day. So we have provided those touchless thermometers. That's also the case at JDF. So we have been procuring thermometers, and when different facilities have asked for those, we do provide those thermometers.
Commission and like DPW, those.
DPS does have it, and if commission would like a thermometer, I do believe we still may have some in stock. We can provide commission staff with a thermometer, a touchless thermometer.
Yeah. Thank you. We're
to that point, Commissioner Basham, we have two that we've ordered and that we have received. One for the 7th floor, one for the 8th floor. We have those two initial ones. If we need more, we'll certainly order more.
Thank you.
With regard to your question about the concerns about the accuracy of the test, and I think that's a very legitimate concern. However, we have done extensive research about accuracy. And the tests now, the machines that we are getting, the tests for the diagnostic side, whether or not someone carries the virus at that point in time, that the machine that we are procuring, it really is the top of the line. And I was looking for the accuracy rate, which we do have, and I can provide to you right after this. It has the highest accuracy rate, and I know it's over 99%. We are not buying the machines that you may have read about over the last week, the Abbott Rapid Test. We are not buying that machine. In fact, our researcher had concluded that it did not have the same level of accuracy as the machine that we are buying. So that's the rapid test. The antibody machine, it is not a rapid test. That it does, the blood work has to be sent out, and it will come back within, I believe, 36 hours. So we have been very diligent in looking at accuracy rates in the machines that we have selected to procure.
Okay, we're not doing hydrochloroquine or LED lights either. Never mind.
Thank you, Commissioner. Two more hands, Vice Chair Palomero, then Commissioner Clark-Coleman.
And Commissioner Colleen, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Palomero?
No, Madam Chair, I did not raise my hand. I was just alerting you that I saw somebody on their video raise their hand literally in the picture rather than do it electronically. So that was all. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Clark-Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Janelle. That was truly a comprehensive report, and especially the part about our juvenile justice facility. That's the kind of stuff that we really need to get out to our community. So just wondering if there's anything that you can provide us with that we can include in our newsletters, our e-newsletters, or something of that sort to get out to the community so that they are aware of what we've done in terms of testing our youth that's in the juvenile detention facility.
Okay. I can definitely prepare, let's say, an executive summary.
Yes.
And provide that to our commissioners.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Colleen, then Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And following on Commissioner Clark-Coleman's question, thanks for the update, Ms. Allen. can you just provide your statement today, because there was a lot of stuff in there besides, and juvenile justice was early on. Can you just provide your comments today to all commissioners on Facebook? Or on email. There's a lot of information in there that's hard to get verbally.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying just post it on
Just
social
an
media?
email to all commissioners that it sounded like you were reading from something. And if that can be just shared with everybody, because there was a lot of good points in there, but getting it verbally, I won't remember it. The juvenile justice stuff is great, but just all of your comments, if you can provide an email to
summary?
commissioners.
Sure.
Yeah, going over those. Well, you say summary, and I get a little. I don't want to miss any detail. So whatever gets the point across for your report today, I'd like to see the full thing.
Okay.
In an email, please.
I would do so. Actually, I was not reading. I've just been working on this, and this is in my head.
Yeah, well, there's that too.
Smart
But-
lady.
Yeah,
I will prepare, though, a report. I understand. I will absolutely submit something in writing.
because Commissioner Clark Coleman is right. We need to share this stuff. We get questions all the time on this, and the answer of, well, I'm really not sure is not a satisfying answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Commissioner. Commissioner Glenn Anderson, then Commissioner Haydos.
Thank you. First of all, I wanted to say, add my comments. Thank you, Janelle, for an exhaustive report and the update. I heard it earlier this week on the call. I think there was probably even some new information. I wanted to thank you for the great job and all the hard work that you put into this. And I think someone else maybe have touched on it about what was happening at JDF, but if you could make sure we have something that we can share as far as the testing when it actually starts. I know we shouldn't probably put it out until we have some more definite timelines and how people can call and get on a list to go through the testing. If you could provide that for us, it'd be very helpful. The other thing was whether or not we're able to use some of the $300 million that came from the feds to offset the cost of this.
With regard to the cost, you mean the CARES Act?
Yeah,
dollars?
actually, I believe it was. I believe it might have came from the CARES Act. I believe.
Okay. So with the 188 million that, yes, I'm saying those are the funds that will be used to procure the machines as well as the services related.
And could you also ask maybe someone to prepare something that we can all share, whether it's in a newsletter or on Facebook, about the details of the testing?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks again for the hard work.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Haydos, did you have a question as well?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Janelle, it's excellent job you did today and explaining those things. And because there was too many questions on the citizen's mind and the employee of Wayne County, how expensive those two machines we buying?
Sorry, 1 second. The two machines, and I can get you the exact cost. They are, I think they total about 500,000 together. And that does, I believe, include some of the test kits, but I will get you the exact cost.
Well, yes, thank you. The only reason I ask, because I know the need and how important it is to have those machines. My concern is we're gonna have more places to test the citizens of Wayne County, because Garden City, it's a good location. I agree with you on that, but it's still the far end, the southwest area of my district. It's a little bit far away from that. It's going to be in the future possibility to put more location.
Absolutely. we had just been talking with Garden City for a variety of things, and so it was kind of ideal because the pieces fit together pretty easily. But yes, that is our plan, to go to other hospitals or other even medical facilities. Like I know that Beaumont has a standalone emergency room in one area without an affiliated, without a connected hospital. We're going to go to facilities where they actually have the staff who can take the nasal swabs or the blood draws, and they can run the test right there on site. So yes, we're absolutely looking for different sites to have the same type of arrangement.
Well, my question would be, if certain area doesn't have a healthcare facility like hospital or urgent care, and don't have the staff and the expertise to run those tests, and the National Guard willing to come and do the test if the machine is available, is that possibility would be open in the future?
We will explore all options to make sure all those who need to be tested have testing available.
Yeah, thank you. I really, my concern is to make the testing available with limited travel from their home to be able to do it. So long as we thinking and debating the issue, I hope one day we'll cover the whole area.
Understood. I'm also serving on the state diversity task force, and one of the key issues we're focusing on is just the issue you've raised about making sure that testing options are available, especially in those communities where it's just hard for them to access or to just have transportation needs. So that is something we're focusing on and looking at sites, as you're saying, that where people can access just on foot, would not have to travel far. So yep, that is high on our radar.
Excellent, because I know there are too many churches, too many private industry willing to let us use their parking lot, their facility for testing. But as you mentioned, the cost of those machines and the expertise, how to run them. So we need to put all those elements together to make sure when we do it, it serves the purpose we need that testing to give us the right result. And I appreciate all the effort the administration doing with your leadership, and I hope we'll continue to do that.
Absolutely. And I assure all of you that County Executive Evans wants us to leverage every available resource to make sure that testing is widely available to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Varga?
Thank you. Janelle, what kind of identification do they expect when Wayne County tests? Do they have alternative to driver's license?
You know, we will check into that, because again, we're not going to turn away anyone. The issue will be just being able to contact and make sure that the test is affiliated with the correct person. I will verify what ID other than a driver's license is acceptable, and a state ID.
If neither of those, I'm not sure what could be used. Maybe bills or something with their addresses on it. This is a real concern in my community, my district, Southwest Detroit and downriver somewhat. Not everyone has the driver's license or state ID, but it is so important that we test them, because we want to know who's out there carrying what. So if you could get back with me so I could educate my community, I would appreciate it.
I will absolutely do so. And again, want to ensure that we want to remove all barriers that may prevent someone from getting a test.
I knew you would. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Varga. Are there any commissioners I did not recognize that wish to ask a question to Janelle? Any other commissioners with a question?
Just want to thank her.
Madam Chair, this is Andrew Kandrivas. Can I just add something real quick?
Sure, Andy.
I
Yes.
just want to remind the commissioners to look through the website, Wayne County website. You know, I'm even surprised. I look on it every couple of days, and there's more and more testing sites coming online at different clinics. So I encourage everybody to go ahead and look. I think they'll be surprised at how many more are popping up in everybody's backyard. So it's not the Wayne County ones, but it's available to the public.
Okay. All right, thank you, Andy. And thank you, Janelle, for speaking with us this morning. Again, these expenses are eligible through the CARES Act to defray the cost. So we're thankful for that. And this is going to be so important for the employees as they go back to work and as we all go back to work, and then for the general public. So thank you so much, and please continue to keep us updated.
I will do so, and thank you all.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was a long report from the chair. That's okay. That was good information. Next item, please.
Unfinished business, there is none listed. We are moving to page 2 of the agenda, offering of all petitions, ordinances, resolutions, and presentations. There are 2 items listed. Item number 1 is a resolution by Commissioner Baker McCormick recognizing May 2020 as Mental Health Awareness Month and requesting increased resources to assist individuals to become stronger in coping with stress and depression related to COVID-19.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of this resolution. As we know, COVID-19 has caused a major epidemic in our community, and whether it be from loneliness or grief or depression or panic attacks that imitate the symptoms of the disease, COVID-19 has placed a heavy burden on Wayne County residents. Right now we have about 1,000 deaths in Wayne County, and over 10,000 cases in Detroit alone. So this is going to be a second major public health crisis, along with the deaths that the pandemic has created. So because today or this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought it would be appropriate that we look at using some of the funds that Congress have put together in a stimulus package, over $425 million for mental health and substance use disorders, and an additional $50 million for suicide prevention programs. I believe that we are doing the best we can in Wayne County, but I believe that in time we will, and we have seen an uptick of mental health cases. So again, I present this resolution for your approval because we really need the support of Wayne County. Our citizens need the support of Wayne County right now as we look at how people deal with death and the rituals behind that are not typical anymore, where we would rely on saying goodbye through funerals and visiting loved ones in the hospital. We can't do that because of social distancing requirements. So again,
I'll support that, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Discussion on the resolution.
That would be open for co-sponsor, Madam the Chair.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Okay, let's take our initial vote first, and then we'll open it up for co-sponsors. It's been moved and supported. The resolution by Commissioner Baker McCormick. We'll do a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anyone abstain? Madam Clerk?
You're going to open the board for co-sponsors.
Did the original motion pass?
Motion carries. Yes, I'm sorry.
And I support.
Thank you. Okay, opening up for co-sponsors. We'll say if there's anyone who does not want to be a co-sponsor, please indicate at this time. Anyone that does not want to be a co-sponsor, please indicate at this time. Okay, note that all commissioners who would like to be a co-sponsor say aye.
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 Madam Clerk?
Co-sponsors duly noted.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Baker, for this resolution. You're right on point. Mental health awareness during this COVID time is so very important, and having the resources to help people with this is going to be so very important as we move forward. So thank you for this resolution. Next
Thank
item,
you.
please.
Item number 2, a presentation by Wayne County Treasurer Erik Sabri to give an update on county programs and services.
Good morning, Mr. Treasurer.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good to
Good
see you.
morning.
Thank you
Good to
so
see
much.
you.
There's been some things going on with the treasurer, and you want to definitely inform us. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I hope all are staying healthy and safe. And this COVID-19 pandemic has impacted all of us, as you know. I want to also thank Janelle Allen and the staff over at the County Executive's Office for helping with the testing. We were able to get many of our employees tested, and it's making a big difference getting the masks and the gloves and the wipes, all those things that we need to do the work at the Treasurer's Office. I want to thank them again. I want to spend a few minutes talking about general things that we're doing at the Treasurer's Office, and then about 5 minutes on the Pay-As-You-Stay program and how that's working right now. Since March 16th, the Treasurer's Office has been closed to the public, and our call center has been down. We don't have employees to answer the phones, but we are responding to emails. We have 2 emails. We've answered 3,000 or 4,000 emails at taxinfo@waynecounty.com, and then also WCTO payment plans at waynecounty.com. All of this information, I will send you a summary, just as you asked Ms. Allen to do. I can send you a summary of what I'm saying. So you have the numbers and email addresses for your use. But our offices continue to operate with some employees performing essential functions, both at the office and from home. There are no foreclosures in 2020, no foreclosures this year. We were able to go to Judge Kenny and get an order to extend the foreclosures to next year. For anyone that was facing foreclosure this year, they have an extension till March 31st, 2021. So I wanted to mention that the auction proceeds from 2019 auction were distributed on May 7th to all the communities and taxing jurisdictions, including Wayne County. They were distributed along with the April settlement checks. So we got them out a little bit early because we know that everyone needs cash right now. And we hope to have our delinquent tax revolving fund funds ready to go by June 15th. You approved a resolution for us to borrow up to $190 million. The number that we actually settled on was $177 million. And that all the communities and taxing jurisdiction, as I said, should receive their funds by June 15th. As far as our interest income, we made about $12 million last year, and it should be maturing. Things are maturing right now that we invested close to 3%. So we won't see a downturn until sometime near the fourth quarter of this year. We're getting just barely over zero in terms of our interest rate right now. Very low. As you know, everything's low. Interest rates are low. We project that next year, this fiscal year ending September 30th, we'll probably have about $9 million in interest income. That's what we're projecting. So a drop of $3 million. But 2021, we'll see probably $3 to $4 million in interest income. As these investments that we're making now begin to mature, we'll see a drop in all the way, probably 50 to 75% of our interest income will decrease. I want to mention that our collections are down 43% compared to last year. But some of that has to do with our office being closed, because about 35% of all the dollars we collect are collected in the office. So it's hard to change habits immediately. We've been encouraging people to pay online, through the kiosks and in the mail, and it has been increasing. But like I said, it's hard to change habits overnight. People want to come in. They're used to coming in the office. We changed our policy to allow personal checks for any tax delinquent year. We used to only allow them for the first 2 years, but anyone can write a personal check now, which will save people from going out to get a money order or going to the store to a kiosk. They can just write a personal check and mail it in. So that's been a change, and that's helped us receive more revenue. Also, we're working with we got some information from the Secretary of State. They're doing appointments. They have appointment software, scheduling software, and we're going to order the same software so that when we open up, we can people can schedule appointments. We're not going to be able to function as we were in the past because of the social distancing requirements, and so we're going to have to have people schedule appointments to come in person. So that's loss of income, of course, is one reason why collections are down. And the other reason is that we're not having foreclosure. So the people are not under pressure to pay this time of year as they usually are in May, April and May. So the collections are down, but they're going to pick back up, I'm sure, when we open up, as well as as we get closer and closer to next year, people will start to pay. So we have one other issue that in our office, we have 12 of our 14 cashiers have been displaced due to the layoffs and the furloughs that are going on in the county. So we're working with HR and trying to get our cashiers back, because if we open up to the public and we don't have our cashiers, it's going to be very difficult, almost impossible for us to collect money. And that's a big issue. Right now, we still have our Financial Empowerment Center operating, but it's not operating in the office as it was. Wayne Metro is handling it remotely. And I have a phone number that I'll include in my report to you so that you can refer people to get the counseling. And it's very important that we still refer people to Financial Empowerment Center, because they have access to grants for other utilities like DTE and the water. So people can get a water grant, or they can get some help with the DTE bill. That will free up some of their cash to pay the taxes. Also, I'd like to go now to the Pay As You Stay program, which is a program that many of you are familiar with. It allows those who are tax exempt and that have delinquent taxes to apply to remove a lot of the back taxes that they have. If they're eligible for an exemption, they can apply for this exemption through their assessor's office, get qualified, they send a file to our office, we send them a letter, and then they follow the instructions in the letter. And based on their taxable value of their property and the amount of money they owe, there's a formula that determines what is their new balance. So we sent out, first of all, 18 communities in Wayne County are participating in this Pay As You Stay program. 25 opted out. They have the choice to opt in and opt out. 25 opted out, 18 participating. Detroit has sent us the file. We sent out 4,620 letters to taxpayers. And we've already received about 20% response. About 831 people have already enrolled, either paid their taxes, their final balance in full, or enrolled in a payment plan. So this is going well. We developed an online payment plan for the Pay As You Stay program, which is working well. And our office is working hard to develop an online payment program for all delinquent taxes. And our IT department is working on that. They're doing a great job. So I wanted to thank them for that. Now, the Pay As You Stay program is for 3 years. It's good for 3 years. And it's a window for 3 years, so many people will probably enter into this program if they're exempt. And that will increase the number of applicants that we have. But I want to just stress again that we need our cashiers in the office. It takes time, months to train them on this software and programs that we have. And it's going to be very difficult to collect revenue if we don't have them in the office. So that kind of concludes my report. And I'm just letting you know we're still working, and you know we're still processing paychecks. Everybody's still getting paid.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
We're grateful.
Are there any questions for commissioners for our treasurer? Any questions for Treasurer Sabri?
Just thank him.
It's Commissioner Hadis.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Mr. Sabri, I know you talk about the taxes who really exempt from paying taxes. Is that something has to be decided by the court or municipality or your office?
Well, the exemptions are determined by the local assessor's office and the board of review for each municipality. And once they determine that the person meets the income requirements, and the income requirements are a little different in each community. That's each community has a little different requirement. The state requires this program, but it doesn't require it to be exactly the same. So every community has a little different. And once the assessor's office and the board of review makes a determination this person's eligible, they send the file to us, and then we process it and enroll them in the program. Some people automatically got a zero balance. About 300 of people got automatic zero balance. Once the formula was implemented, their taxes went to zero automatically. So it's all done through the municipality, Commissioner.
So we know because of this virus situation, we have many things been extended, like filing income tax. Now it's till July and but there many people miss the deadline with the Board of Appeal and their taxes. Is there any extension for that, or they have to wait for next year?
Well, every municipality has their board review schedule. The city of Detroit, for instance, you can still enroll up until December. I think December 15th of this year to get an exemption for 2020 taxes. So even though the summer taxes come out in July, they can go back and retroactively take care of it. But that's individual board reviews and assessor's office that would have to be addressed.
In the county treasurer or the state, they have no objection on the municipality making those decisions?
Not at all, none.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sabri.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware.
I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the treasurer and his staff for always picking up the phone, because I think I've been really calling often. So thank you.
Oh, that's fine. That's what we're here for.
Because often we set these new guidelines and standards up, but it still doesn't reach all the public. So I receive a lot of calls about their property, and of course, homeowners are concerned, and the treasurer and his staff have made themselves available. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Treasurer Sabri. A question from Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to also commend Erik and just for the fantastic job he does in that office. He's fully hands-on. He's somebody that keeps us updated, and he's done a great job. I just wanted to commend him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional questions for Treasurer Sabri?
Just a comment, Commissioner Beydoun, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Haj Erik Sabri, for your leadership during this difficult time. I think the fact that we have a moratorium on foreclosure will help many homeowners stay in their homes, and that's only going to help the housing market. That's why this is going to be different than 2009, 2010. Thank you for working with the homeowners.
Thank you. I think the business owners too are struggling, as you know, and
yes,
I've got a lot of response from them that they're grateful that they have an extra year to get their property out of foreclosure, out of trouble. So this is it's going to help the businesses as well. Yeah.
Of course, yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Treasurer Sabri, one question.
Yes.
I'm hopeful that you're working with the Personnel Department, Human Resources for your staffing needs. I think, you need your qualified people to perform the duties to collect the money, as you stated.
Yes.
How are those talks going?
Well, they're going. We hope that we plan to do a phased opening because we want to bring our staff back so that we have all the social distancing and we're prepared to do all the new things that we have to do to accommodate the public. We would like to open up by mid-June. So we're hoping that we can get this resolved, and it's going along. We submitted a request to the Executive Review Committee last week. We haven't heard back from them yet, but we know that it's being discussed and being considered.
Well, the tax collecting portion of our county is very important because that's how we pay all of our expenses and provide the services to our residents. So I'm hopeful that that will get resolved in a timely manner so that we can continue to collect the money that we need to keep us from further going into debt. So thank you for all that you do and for all the services you provide to us. And feel free to talk to us at any time if you need assistance or if you want to give us updates on your office's operations.
Okay, thank you. And I'll forward a report, a little summary of what I said to the commission by Monday. Okay.
Fantastic. We appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. You're welcome.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Have a good day too. Thank you.
Next, Madam Clerk.
We are moving to reports from committees. We are on Report A from the Committee on Public Services. There are 3 items listed on pages 2 and 3 of the agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move items 1 through 3.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on items 1, 2, and 3 of the Public Services Report? Any questions or discussion on these items? Okay. All right. Hearing none, of course, we will do a roll call vote on our committee reports. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Basham?
Yes.
Commissioner Baydoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Daub?
Yes.
Commissioner Hattis?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen?
Aye.
Commissioner Kniezek?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Varga?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware?
Yes.
Vice Chair Palomero?
Yes.
Chair Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item, Report B from the Committee on Ways and Means. There are 7 items listed on pages 3 and 4 of the agenda.
Commissioner Varga?
I move the entire report.
Support.
Ways and Means report.
Okay, Ways and Means has been moved and supported. 7 items. Any discussion on any of these items?
Who supported the motion?
Commissioner Palomero.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion on these items? 1 through 7 on the Ways and Means report?
We can only see 1 through 4.
Okay.
It's on the next page.
Okay. Any questions on the Ways and Means report? Hearing none. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Basham?
Yes.
Commissioner Baydoun?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Daub?
Yes.
Commissioner Hattis?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen?
Aye.
Commissioner Kniezek?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Varga?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware?
Yes.
Vice Chair Palomero?
Yes.
Chair Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Next report, please.
We are on Report C from the Committee on Health and Human Services. There are 4 items listed on pages 4 and 5 of the agenda.
Okay. Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 1 is money that we received from the state of Michigan to run various health programs on behalf of the state. It's a very large contract, and through the year, as money becomes available in Lansing, they add to those dollars. So this is an adding of dollars to the state programs we run. Item 2 is a grant. It's a pass-through grant for the Wayne County Family Center. The county no longer runs that, but we get the grant, we pass it through. And then items 3 and 4 are from the CARES Act to provide some funding for our federally qualified health centers. I will move all 4 items for approval, Madam Chair.
Support. Anderson.
Basham.
Take your pick, Commissioner. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, for the second. But,
I was first.
Madam
it's been
Chair,
moved
I'll yield to
and-
my senior member there.
Thank you.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Killeen, supported by Commissioner Basham. Any questions on the Health and Human Services report? Thank you for the explanation, Commissioner Killeen, on each of the items. Any questions? Hearing none? Roll call vote.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Basham,
Yes.
Commissioner Baydoun,
Yes.
Commissioner Carcone,
Yes.
Commissioner Dobb,
Yes.
Commissioner Hattis,
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen,
Aye.
Commissioner Knizik,
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki,
Aye.
Commissioner Baker McCormick,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Varga,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware,
Yes.
Vice Chair Palomero,
Yes.
Chair Bell,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item, please.
Upcoming committee and task force meetings are listed on pages 5 and 6 of the agenda.
Okay, please take note of the meetings. If there are any changes, please alert the clerk. Next item,
Public comments.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Basham.
I had my hand up. I'm going to postpone the Committee on Audit, our next meeting.
Thank you, sir. Duly noted. Audit committee is postponed. Okay.
Chair,
Yep, Commissioner Dobb.
I just want to remind the members of the Special Task Force on Women's Suffrage, which is all of the women on the commission, that we're having a meeting today at noon. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other comments on the upcoming meetings? Okay, next item, please.
We are on new business, page 6 of the agenda. There is
I'm sorry, we didn't do public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I said public comments.
Public comments, anyone on the line wishing to address the Wayne County Commission? I think everyone is on self-mute, so if you.
Postage machines, and so we are responsible or have.
Okay, so please put yourself on mute unless you'd like to address the Wayne County Commission. If so, you have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Anyone wishing to address the Wayne County Commission?
Whenever they.
Anyone wishing to address the Wayne County Commission? Okay. Thank you. Next item.
We remain on page 6 of the agenda, new business. There is 1 item listed on the agenda and 2 on the addenda. Item number 1, requesting commission approval. I'm sorry, item number 1 is a receive and file item from the Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs in response to the commission's resolution number 287 passed on May 7th.
Okay, everyone, you received the letter in your packet. This is a response to the letter that myself and Al Hayda sent a few weeks back. So this is their response. And again, that letter is in your packet. I entertain a motion to receive and file.
So moved, Madam the Chair.
Moved by Commissioner Hayda, supported by
Varga.
Commissioner Varga. This is a receive and file, so we'll do a voice count, a voice vote. All in favor of the item, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 2 is requesting commission approval of a MOA between the Charter County of Wayne and the International Union of Operating Engineers, allowing for a maximum of 25% of the bargaining unit members to be placed on immediate and temporary unpaid furlough.
Okay, this is a ratification of what the union voted on. Is there anyone here to speak to this? Andrew, I don't know if you want to speak to this or if Janelle is still on the line.
Madam Chair, I'm told that Steve Malin or Joe Marnico from Personnel Human Resources are available.
Okay. Gentlemen, would either of you like to expound on this item, please? And you may have to take yourself off of mute.
Joseph, this is Steve Malin. Hello, Madam Chair and other commissioners. Joe, are you on call?
Yes, I'm on as well. Good morning.
Good morning. If you could get a summary of this item number 2, please.
Yes, this agreement is identical to those that were presented to the commission at its last meeting. It provides for, in lieu of the layoff of employees of this bargaining unit, it provides for their placement on a period of unpaid furlough. And as a result of this, pardon me?
Go ahead, sir.
And there are 12 members of this bargaining unit.
Yeah, I think so.
And as a result of this agreement, there were 2 individuals who were placed on unpaid furlough, one of whom volunteered to be placed on unpaid furlough, and one who was the junior employee in the bargaining unit who was also placed on unpaid furlough. The provisions of the agreement provide for this period of unpaid furlough to extend for a period of 90 days with the possible extension for an additional 60 days, after which time the parties would take a look at where we are at that time and either negotiate an extension or some other agreement or hopefully be in a position to recall the employees.
Okay, thank you. There's a question by Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure which of the gentlemen would address this, but I know that since we approved the other agreements or memorandums of agreement between the county and some of the other bargaining units, there was it has been alleged or stated by someone in one of the bargaining units that callbacks were not addressed that would be by seniority. Is that an issue here?
Well, yeah, I'm not aware of the question. I'm not sure what's meant by callbacks. The agreement itself does provide for employees to be recalled from unpaid furlough, and that notice would be sent to them, and they would have a period of time within which to return to service. Is that what the callback question referred to?
I believe the statement that we received from someone in one of the bargaining units was that it seemed to not adhere to the agreement, the bargaining agreement, the original bargaining agreement, that in the order that people would be returned to work or recalled.
Yeah, the bargaining agreement contains provisions specifically dealing with layoffs rather than unpaid furloughs. And the agreements that we reached with this bargaining unit, as well as several other bargaining units, provide for an alternative to layoffs, which contained what we feel were beneficial provisions both for the county and for the employees who were impacted. For example, employees who were impacted, medical benefits and insurance coverages were continued during the period of the unpaid furlough, Whereas in a layoff, they are not. They are subject to continuation only by COBRA. The MOAs that were negotiated did also contain a provision with regarding to callback or to recall, and they would be recalled. I believe that the agreements require that they be recalled in seniority order, but at the end of the 90 days, everyone would, or at the end of any period of extension, everyone would, the entire group would be subject to either recall or some extension of the provision of the agreement.
Okay, I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Commissioner Dobb?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Human Resources. How are you keeping track of the number of employees that are mandated for each department by the county charter, and how many employees are being put on furlough, and then how many, just to make sure that we have the required amount of employees for each department as mandated?
Well, thank you for the question, Commissioner Dobb. This is Steve Malin. Well, the numbers worked out that we had turned out that 78 employees were put on unpaid furlough. As I think everybody knows, it was just the ASME non-supervisor bargaining unit that ended up not ratifying the MOA. So for that reason, that group of employees were the ones who were earmarked for layoff. So there were 115 final layoffs, and then 112 displacements that were associated with those layoffs, meaning that when we start the displacement process, someone has selected a name for layoff by virtue of them being non-essential in their department, but HR and LR have to go through, follow the displacement contract of that ASME non-supervisory contract, which does look at seniority and allows people to sort of bump into other positions. So eventually someone, with every position being frozen, someone does sort of ends up out of a job at the end of that whole process. And there's a lot of people that change positions, but land somewhere else in another job. And again, based on seniority. So the total numbers were close to, about 227 total employees impacted by the layoffs and the displacements in total, and again, the 78 by the furlough. But we worked with, and particularly in Janelle Allen's executive branch departments that tier up to the CEO's office. Janelle and I, and then Janelle and Joe in a couple instances, did a deep dive with those departments to understand who is essential, what essential functions. The focus was on essential functions, essential services, and then therefore what employees would perhaps not be needed at that time. I can use an example in my own department. Right now with the freeze on, a lot of my talent team has been furloughed. We're not recruiting as heavily. We're not doing promotions and testing and creating eligibility lists and so forth. So right now they're on furlough as an example. So that process was done carefully and with a focus on essential services and essential functions. And to the extent that the department is aware, when we did HHVS, it got to places like JDF, as we all know, they're impacted by licensing requirements and their 8-to-1 ratio of JDS services employees to the residents at JDF. Those sorts of requirements, would have been known by each individual department, and they would have ensured that they were not hindering any such requirements that accrue to their own department or elected office.
Okay, is it possible for you to provide the commission with some sort of spreadsheet of just totals of the number of employees that were in each department before the layoffs, and then how many were furloughed or let go?
Sure. We have reports, and we have broken out those reports. I think both the layoff reports and the furlough reports were provided to, once we finally had everything finalized, we did create reports, and we broke those out by department, and then piecemealed each department their own information and sent it back to them. And I also say each department did get copies of every layoff notice and displacement notice of their impacted employees. Of course, the department heads got those, the unions received those, but we do have such reports, and yes, we can provide this to the commission.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm just looking for something, just numbers, just totals, not names or anything. But yeah, that would be great. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
Commissioner. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Yes, and to that point, the number of employees that volunteered for furlough, do you have that number, or can you get that number?
Yes, Commissioner Baker McCormick, we would have that. It was not too many that actually volunteered. There were quite a lot that actually volunteered and asked me, non-supervisor, and once they did not ratify the MOA and that went to layoffs, volunteering would not be one of the criteria for the CBA that we would follow. And so unfortunately, by virtue of that not being ratified, anybody that volunteered for any of this we were not able to use that. But yes, for any of the other union and classified positions that went to furlough, we did have a handful that volunteered, and we did capture that, and we can highlight those on the list that we provide to the commission. Just mark a key for anybody that was on there by virtue of furlough. But I'll say this, volunteers, let me also add this. Importantly, when we looked at the volunteers, we didn't just, if someone were designated as essential by the department head, and just because someone volunteered, I just wanted to be clear, there's no confusion on this. So we didn't just honor that volunteer. A lot of those volunteers, the fact they volunteered, we took that under consideration, but in many instances, volunteers were declined because they were essential. What we would do is if there was a population of non-essential that would have either gone to furlough or layoff, we were then looking to see, okay, if there were 5 people in the classification and they were keeping 4 of the 5 and 1 was going to go, then we would look to see who might have out of that group volunteered. And then if we could do that, we would accept the volunteer and then they would be furloughed. But just because someone volunteered didn't mean they would be placed on furlough. And frankly, a vast majority of people that volunteered ended up being essential and were not allowed to just be placed on furlough.
Okay, and so how was that information disseminated as to non-essential, I guess, or any employee? How was the information disseminated as to the furlough, whether you wanted to volunteer to furlough?
That's a great question. The way the process worked was, this was when Joe and I worked on the MOAs with the unions, and this was brought up. We agreed that they would provide, the union would provide us with a list of their members from each of the bargaining units that we negotiated MOAs with, and so they provided us with those list of names of volunteers, and then it was our job to sort of marry that up, if you will, or align that to who the departments were selecting as essential and non-essential. And as it turned out, again, if there were 10 people in classification and all 10 were essential, then no one got impacted out of those 10 positions. If there were 10 positions and arguably if everybody was non-essential, then there'd be no need for the volunteers. So it really only came into play where we had volunteers in a classification where there was going to be some selected for furlough and some selected to stay. That was really the only scenario where we'd even apply that criteria. And then pretty much I was the one that went through those lists and applied that criteria and made sure that if we could apply the volunteer, and we did in some instances, yeah, that was actually very helpful, and we were able to do it that way.
So was it that the volunteers would go to their supervisor and let the supervisor know, and then the supervisor would let the union know and then pass it on to you? Or I'm just trying to understand the process.
Well, yeah, so the process would be if I had 5 individuals and they were going to impact one, if there were 5 and 1 out of 5 were selected for furlough by the department, so they were keeping 4 and 1 was to go. If someone in that group had volunteered, then generally, yes, then that person was allowed to go. If we had more volunteers than the number of people selected, then we would do it by reverse seniority, and the least senior person would stay, and the most senior person would be the one who was allowed to volunteer, because that was by their request.
Okay, so the employees can go to their supervisor, or who would they, if an employee wanted to volunteer and they may or may not be essential, do they go to their supervisor and let the supervisor know? I'm just trying to understand, if an employee wants to volunteer, what that looks like, what the process is. Whether they can or can't, then that's another whole scenario.
Correct. So the union leadership, after we negotiated the MOAs, union leadership put out that call to their members. At the time it would have been ratified, it would have communicated that there was a provision in there where if you wanted to volunteer, the union leadership solicited that information from their members at that time and then provided that information to Joe and myself. And so it really wasn't going to the department head so much as it was a process, again, whereby union leadership solicited it from their members, they provided it directly to us, and then Joe and I used that information, that criteria, as I had described earlier.
Okay, great. So it didn't go directly to the employees.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the follow-up question.
So the call for volunteers wasn't made directly from the administration to the volunteers. It was through the union that.
Exactly
Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. Any additional questions, Commissioner Varga?
Thank you. How many were the displacements? I missed that number.
Oh, Commissioner Varga, yes, the total displacements ended up being 112. So on average, it was almost 1-to-1. Some of those would have been direct layoffs. Other ones might have had 3 or 4 displacements along the way, but it ended up being 115 layoffs and 112 displacements in addition to the 115 layoffs.
Okay.
So if I heard you correctly, you said that some of these displaced persons will probably be bumping others for positions?
Yes. So what we define as a layoff would be if someone actually, for lack of a better term, sort of hit the street. For the person that actually was impacted by having their position eliminated, and the department had their position eliminated, and that incumbent, now is unemployed, if you will. Anybody else along the way, the displacement essentially is they're going from one job to another job elsewhere. But that could be within, a lot of departments had displacements that were within their own department. And other times it would be someone going from M&B over to DPS, that sort of thing. But they do have jobs. On displacements, they do land into another position.
Okay, so we're not permanently displacing anybody at the current time as trying to save on staffing.
Well, right. So out of the numbers I gave you, it would be the 115 that I referred to as a layoff, and then there were 112 displacements through bumping along the way. So just a quick example would be someone was selected for layoff in my department, for instance. They might have not been, based on their seniority, they might not have been the person who is out of work. They may just bump someone else who bumped someone else, and that person is out of a job. So that bumping, the first bumping is a displacement. It's one job to another. But rest assured, out of the 115, what I'm calling layoffs, that does result in 115 position eliminations. And that's where the cost savings would come in. But it's also incurred by the department who nominated the person, even though that person, the person in that position might not have been reduced. The position reductions were coming from the departments that anteed up those positions. The actual person might have been unemployed from a different area through the chaining, but 115, or rather, 115 positions were essentially eliminated.
Okay, so for next year's budgeting, we will not be putting dollars in for those positions, and that will be part of our, I would imagine, new budgeting, elimination of those dollars.
Yes, if nothing else changes, and of course this is all being looked at, through with people like Assistant County Executive Cleo Hall and CFO Huey Newsom, and Janelle Allen is playing a prominent role as our COO. But yes, those, it's all being looked at. But generally, the total labor cost, which would be the salaries plus a benefit load that we use 62% on top of that salary. Those dollars, those labor cost dollars, right now would be out of our budget.
Okay, could you please add classification to the list of things that you're going to provide to us on each of these, the furloughs, the layoff, and displacements?
Sure. The reports that we have do already have the list name and classification department. Yes, that's already included on the reports.
Now, is there a little check that you could put on there, expected elimination? Or possible?
Well, yeah, we'll take a look at it again on some of the reports, but I think that the reports are admittedly a little confusing. But on those reports, we've tried to break out that we sent the departments. We do have layoffs separate from displacements, and then we even broke out displacements between incoming displacements, people coming into a department, people moving within a department, and then anybody that was going from a department outgoing to another department. Those were all identified on the reports that we sent, and then by doing it that way, the people identified as layoffs would be the ones that essentially were the positions being eliminated.
Okay, and can you add a dollar sign to it of how much this will save the county?
Yeah, that's one thing that CFO Huey Newsom, I don't know if Huey's on the call, but yeah, he is the one that we've worked in lockstep on these reports, and then Huey is the one looking at the financials on that.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, once I look at this, and if I have any questions, I can get back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional questions on item number 2? Any additional questions on item number 2? Okay, let's do this since this is a approval item. Then the next item is also an approval. Let's take them together. Then when we vote, you will either vote say yes to 2 and 3, or yes to 2, no on 3. But we'll take them together. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Item number 3 is requesting commission approval of the appointment of John Zeck to the Great Lakes Water Authority Board of Directors.
Okay, is Mr. Zeck on the phone by any chance? If
Oh,
If
he's
not,
muted.
Andy,
He's muted.
he's muted.
John Zek is muted. Andrew Kandrivas here on behalf of the administration, Madam Chair. Mr.
Yes.
Zek, I'm sure you can hear me. Can you unmute? Yeah, there you go. All right. Yes, if I could just kick it off. Good morning, everybody. This is the appointment for the Great Lakes Water Authority Board. Wayne County has one appointment to that board. And unfortunately, our last appointee, Mr. Abe Monfach, passed away in March. So currently we are asking Commission to approve Mr. Zek to be the Wayne County representative on that board. And Mr. Zek has quite a history. Some of you may know him from his times in multiple communities in Wayne County as city administrator and city manager. So I'll stop talking and leave you to Mr. Zek.
Mr. Zek?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, thank you very much for considering me. Thank you to Mr. Haddis, Commissioner Haddis, for recommending me to the Wayne County Executive. And I enjoyed working with Mr. Kandrivas through the vetting process. I would like to mention that I worked with Mr. Monfa for over 10 years while the city manager of Wayne. I learned a great deal from him. He was the managing partner of the engineering firm that the city of Wayne used. And I learned a lot about engineering as well as collaboration and diversity and all. And it's an honor to be recommended to fulfill the remainder of his term. And again, I appreciate Mr. Evans putting my name forward.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you being with us this morning. Any questions for Mr. Zek or comments? Okay. And again, this is to fulfill the term that was vacated. Commissioner Anderson, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to comment, I'm glad to see John being recommended for this. Mr. Zek and I go back a long time, as does with Commissioner Haddis, and he's an excellent individual. I think he will be a great addition to the Great Lakes Water Authority. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any additional comments on item number 3 or questions? Okay, again, we'll do a roll call vote for 2 and 3. If you wish to vote no on one or yes on another, please indicate that. Commissioner Baydoum, I see your face. Do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. He just popped up on my screen. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Roll call and support.
Oh, we don't. I'm sorry. Move. Support. Is there a motion for number 2 and 3, please?
So move.
Support, Dobb.
Okay. It was moved by
Basham.
Moved by Basham,
With the B.
supported by Commissioner Dobb for items 2 and 3 under new business. Again, when your name is called, if you say yes, you're saying yes to 2 and 3. If you want to delineate your vote, just indicate that. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Anderson? I'm sorry, Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Basham?
Yes.
Commissioner Baydoum?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark-Coleman?
Consistent with my previous no vote on item number 2, I'm going to be voting no. I'll be voting yes on 3, no on 2.
We noted. Commissioner Dobb?
Yes.
Commissioner Haddis?
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen?
Yes.
Commissioner Kniezek?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Varga?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware?
Yes.
Vice Chair Palomero?
Yes.
Chair Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next item, please.
Testimonial resolutions and certificates of appreciation. They are listed on pages 7 and 8 of the agenda.
Okay, 7 and 8. Moved by Vice Chair Pro Tem Ware, supported by Vice Chair Palomero, and they're listed on your screen. We'll take a voice vote for this. All in favor of the testimony resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Motion carries. Next item, memoriams. There are 2 names listed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
I'm not sure if Reverend Richard Smith was added. Did we put him on the memoriam? If not, I would like to add him, Reverend Richard Smith from Highland Park.
Okay. Madam Clerk, did you get that name?
Duly noted.
Thank you. And of course, we have on here Commissioner, we have on here a former state rep, former state senator Morris Hood III. His viewing is today from 9 to 9. I have the memorial resolution that I'll be taking to the funeral home later this evening, and that is signed by all commissioners. And we, of course, are just devastated by the loss of him gone way too soon. So we'll continue to keep his family and friends in our prayers. Of course, this hits all of us very hard, as he had just been joined Wayne County just recently. So we know all of us have a relationship with him. So we just want to continue to keep his family in our prayers. I seek Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Anderson.
I just wanted to add a name, if I could. James Larkin passed away. Some of you may remember his wife, who is Carol Larkin, quite active in the political circles, and I think she's a former Wayne County employee. But I saw that he had passed away a couple of days ago. He's been battling illness for some time, and a great person. Just wanted to add his name if I could.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. You are did you receive his name?
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, if I could too. I did want to mention that his family has asked for donations to St. Jude in his honor, if anyone wishes to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Clark Coleman, then Vice Chair Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the last board meeting that we had, I didn't have all the details, but we lost a pastor and his wife a couple of days of each other. So I'd like to add to the list Pastor Nathaniel Slappy Sr. and his son, Nathaniel Slappy Jr. And they are the husband and son of Josephine Slappy, who I worked with when I was on the school board. She was the school board secretary of the board. And she lost both her husband, the pastor of the church, and the church is a New St. Luke Baptist Church. That's New St. Luke, L-U-K-E, Baptist Church. And she lost both her husband, and within a couple of days, she lost her son. So my heart goes out to Josephine in that tragic loss. But I would like to put those names on the record also.
And
thank you,
Commissioner Scott.
Go ahead, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. I would like to be added to the Slappies. They're originally from Hamtramck. Just a great family.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you.
Commissioner Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to echo your comments about Morris Hood III. Both he and his father, Morris Hood Jr., were absolutely wonderful and beloved human beings. It couldn't have been a greater honor to know them, work with them, and call them dear, dear friends. They will be terribly missed. The other person listed who passed recently was also an elected official and a terrific person. Wyandotte Mayor Joe Peterson passed away. Mayor Peterson did not pass away from coronavirus, but due to complications from Agent Orange that he suffered when he was over in Vietnam. Before he became mayor, Joe Peterson was a police officer, later a councilman, and he was so well-liked and popular. Joe Peterson, even with term limits, could have served and been the mayor of Wyandotte for life, and as it turns out, he was. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. So sorry for the loss of the residents of Wyandotte and all of Wayne County. Any other names wished to be added to memoriams? Hearing none, if we, I'm sorry. Hello? Okay. At this moment, let us please mute everyone, Madam Clerk, and we'll take a moment of silence. Okay. Thank you all so much for that. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Reconsiderations.
There are none. Next item.
Remarks by members.
Any members of the Wayne County Commission wishing to give remarks at this time?
Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Dow.
Don't know where my mind is. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to introduce a couple of summer interns that I have taken on for my office, and I just wanted to introduce them to the Commission. They're here on the Zoom meeting today. I have Holly Linetsky, who will be starting her sophomore year at Michigan State University this fall, and she's majoring in political science. I have Blair Achalasia, a senior at Central Michigan University, and he is also majoring in political science. And Lily Propst, who just graduated from Central Michigan University with a bachelor's degree in political science. And Lily is going to be heading to law school at the University of Illinois this fall. We're most likely going to be conducting the internship program entirely online due to the pandemic, but hopefully we'll be able to make this experience meaningful for them. So hoping to bring them down to the Guardian building and introduce them to everyone. But, you know, I don't think that's going to happen. So, Holly, Blair, and Lily. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner, and welcome to your interns. Hopefully this will be a meaningful experience as you learned about the Commission and county government. So welcome, and we look forward to hopefully one day meeting you face to face. Next, Commissioner Anderson, then Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is, I guess, something I dealt with, just trying to decide how to phrase it. I have much stronger opinions on it than I will say in my comments. But Mid-Michigan, as everyone knows, have experienced a incredible and catastrophic flooding. A lot of people's homes have been wiped out. We really don't even know the extent of the damage, I think, right now until the water recedes. Fortunately, it seems as though there was no loss of life due to the flooding, but a lot of homes were destroyed, a lot of lives were destroyed, businesses, and Midland is experiencing very high water levels, a lot of damage, people out of their homes, and unfortunately, I have to comment that I'm very disappointed, and that's putting it very mildly, that the president has now threatened to, at a time like this, has threatened to withhold funding to Michigan when those citizens are dealing with this situation. Not only did he fail to get his facts straight when he stated that our Secretary of State was mailing out ballots, when in fact she's only mailing out applications to all registered voters to try to make that more accessible to people at this time of the epidemic that we're dealing with, and then those folks in mid-Michigan, what they're dealing with on top of it. So very disappointed, putting it mildly, that he would threaten the state of Michigan because of this political situation that he's manufacturing. But I just wanted to go on record saying that.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take this time to thank my staff for all the work they've been doing through this pandemic and just working from home. We were able to organize 2 events. One is the 10K in 10 days relief fund. Northwest Detroit, my district, 48235 and 48219 was the hardest hit in the state of Michigan. And as far as COVID related cases as well as deaths. So what we wanted to do is raise funds. I'm also partnering with First Institutional Baptist Church right in the district, Reverend Robin Moore, who is also helping with this effort. We are purchasing, from the funds that are raised, we're purchasing gift cards, gift certificates from local businesses to support them. And then we're turning around and giving them to residents that are in need. In addition, we have decided to have a virtual high school and college celebration because a lot of the seniors that are graduating, they are not able to celebrate the way in which they anticipated, and most of us have. So we decided to give or honor them in a virtual call to all Wayne County Commission District 6 residents and their grads. So I just want to take this time for any callers out there that are graduating. I want to say congratulations to you, and that together we will all get through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's great for the graduating seniors and the persons in your district with the gift cards with the 10 days, 10K initiative. Thank you so much. Any other comments by commissioners? I don't see anyone in the chat or in the raised hands. I'll just echo Commissioner Anderson's comments about our hearts going out to the residents of Midland, Michigan. I lived there the summer of 1989 as I was an intern for Dow Chemical. So I'm very familiar with that area, and we just want to make sure that we send our prayers to all the families impacted by the devastating floods. And I'm certain that FEMA will do the right thing, and the federal government will do the right thing to assist those persons impacted by that flooding. So we want to continue to pray for them and their families. At this time, we're about 9 minutes before the special task force on the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage meeting. So if there aren't any other comments by commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported.
Support by Scott.
All right, supported. Thank you so much. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. And 1 second to Francesca or Pam. Is this the same number for the next committee meeting?
No.
Yes?
No.
No. Okay, so we have to sign off and sign back in for the next meeting. So, okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Except for the ladies. See you real soon, ladies.
Bye.